Hey guys, Gotham Royalty here, and today we're going to be talking about the new DLC maps that we would hope would be in the new Battlefront 2 game.
Yeah, so basically, after the recent Last Jedi season, we know roughly, I guess, what the structure probably is going to be for most DLC seasons, which would include a Galactic Assault map, Starfighter Assault map, a Light Side Hero, Dark Side Hero, and a Hero ship. So from that information, we've just written out a few ideas of what we could potentially see. First off, I think something a lot of people I've heard saying what they'd like to see from Attack of the Clones would be Geonosis for both the Galactic Assault and Starfighter Assault map. Personally, for me, I'd really like to see Geonosis because, as you know, one of my favourite maps is the Camino map, purely because I really like the design of the Phase 1 clones.
Yeah.
And Geonosis was the first big battle that took place with the clones in, so obviously they were the Phase 1 clones, so that's something I'd really like to see. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think also that map would have pretty good potential as well, because you see two different aspects to it in the film. You see the arena, and you also see after they've flown a bit.
Yeah.
So I feel like they could do different things here.
Yeah, and certainly with the arena, that could become an aspect of the Galactic Assault map, but I was actually thinking perhaps that could be something we could see for a Heroes versus Villains game mode, which could be really interesting because it's a big open space, and yeah, it might just be really interesting to see. But actually, having watched shows like Clone Wars and Rebels where they have visited Geonosis, there's a whole underlevel of Geonosis because the natives are like insect creatures and it's mines and stuff, and like all these tunnels. So that could be another interesting thing that could be incorporated into it. And then as far as Starfighter Assault, there aren't any battles of which I know where massive like space battles have happened around Geonosis. There might have been in Clone Wars, but I'm not entirely sure. However, we do see in Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan and Jango Fett have quite a this intense space battle around there, and it's a massive asteroid field. So I see no reason why they couldn't just have a Starfighter Assault map in there. But yeah, and then for the heroes, I don't know if you want to read that out because I know one of these you're a particular fan of.
Yeah, we thought for a hero either Padme or Mace Windu. And then for obviously the dark side, you were thinking Django. I think that was one that you came up with.
I mean, personally for me, because I think those three characters had the most significant kind of, out of all their appearances in that trilogy, those were their most significant action pieces.
Yeah.
Mace Windu was the first appearance of his lightsaber. And obviously Padme, we never really see her do much of action apart from the end of Phantom Menace. So yeah, I think you'd probably prefer Padme.
Yeah.
And I think I might too, purely because there is a significant lack of female characters in the game.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
it might be good to see, but honestly I'd equally like Mace Windu. He had quite a, you kind of see him leading a battalion in that massive battle that takes place with the clones and everything. And then yeah, Jango Fett, probably his most significant role, also where he dies. But yeah,
sense.
Yeah, and then finally for the hero ship, this was something that I think that technically the ship is already in the game. Slave 1. It's Boba Fett and Jango Fett's ship, but I think we both agreed there's 2 Millennium Falcons already in the game, being Rey and Chewbacca's and Han Solo and Chewbacca's. There's no reason why they couldn't do this with slightly different abilities. Same thing with Jango. He's very similar to Boba Fett, but there's no reason why they couldn't change some things.
Yeah. I agree.
But yeah, that would be really cool to see. Yeah, I think we just both, that was something we'd both quite like to see. Padme would be your probably favourite character out of everyone to see.
I think so.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you just want to, are there any particular abilities you'd like to see from any of these characters?
I'm not sure really. I imagine Padme would probably obviously be like playing similar to Finn and Leia. I imagine somewhere with similar abilities, because she's not really got anything in the film like that's her standout.
Just kind of shooting. Yeah.
So I imagine they might do something similar to Finn's sort of running business, all of that. I imagine, or maybe Leia's health and stuff like that. Similar ideas. As you said, Django would be
very similar to Boba Fett. But yeah, they could check maybe because in the last game, Battlefront 2015, Boba Fett had the flamethrower as one of his main abilities. However, it's actually his melee in this game, so perhaps they could focus more on the flamethrower with Jango Fett.
That'd be a good idea.
But yeah, that'd just be some interesting thing to see. Something that actually just occurred to me is, it wasn't really mentioned when they released the DLC announcement of what was going to be in there, but with the Last Jedi DLC with Crate, they did introduce at least 2 more vehicles, being the Ski Speeder and the new type of ATST.
Yeah.
So they're clearly open to introducing new vehicles. So I think that could be quite interesting to see. There's this thing called a Spider Droid, which I think a lot of people have been hoping to see, because they actually featured in Kashyyyk in the movie, so people want to see that added to that. But that could be something they could add. There's all sorts of massive amounts of vehicles that they could potentially add for that map on Galactic Assault. Next up, something from, I think we can agree, our favourite prequel.
Yeah.
The opening of Revenge of the Sith. Grievous's ship is what I think we both would like to see as a Galactic Assault map.
Yeah.
The clones in the film don't really have a role there, but there is a fight going on between those ships. There's no reason why you couldn't just stick a load of clones on there. Death Star 2. Never a massive amount of rebels fighting stormtroopers, but it happens in the game, so there's no reason for not seeing that. So yeah, that'd be really cool to see. And obviously the Starfighter Assault map, I think we both agreed, would have to go the same kind of area where the film opens, with that quite cool space battle. I think we both agreed. And yeah, if you want to read out the heroes.
For the light side, which is something I think both of us want quite a lot, it would be Anakin. And then for the dark side, Count Dooku.
I just think that'd be really cool. Like those two, Anakin obviously kills Count Dooku on Grievous's ship. They both play significant roles at the start of the film. And I think Anakin's just a character we'd both like to see. I think certainly everyone wants to see more Jedi and Sith added to the game. It'd be quite cool if you could just, in Heroes vs. Villains, if you could have 4 lightsaber characters against 4 lightsaber characters. I think certainly everyone wants that to happen. Anakin, I imagine, would just have very similar moves to Luke or Yoda. We've seen, there's not a massive difference between the Force users' abilities in the grand scheme of things. It's all increased damage or Force pushes. Dooku, however, I thought, obviously he's got Force Lightning, as we see in Attack of the Clones. So something interesting maybe they could do with that, rather than like Palpatine's where it's more of a widespread attack. Perhaps they could make it more of a beam attack, like just a straight kind of laser idea. So he actually more of an aimed, concentrated damage attack, rather than a widespread thing. But yeah, I think those are both characters we really like to see. I think a discussion to be had is that in the original Battlefront 2, Anakin was on the dark side. What side would you... I think we both agreed light side, but why would you not want him on the dark side?
I mean, Anakin and Darth Vader are sort of usually kept as separate.
They're kind of different people almost.
I mean, even in the movies, Darth Vader doesn't really think of himself as Anakin. Anakin is dead to him. So they're 2 separate people, and Anakin was, training to be a Jedi and all of that, so I think it makes sense for him to be on the light side rather than the dark side. But it's one thing that you did mention, if we couldn't get it anywhere else,
you might as well. But
that's a discussion for another time.
And then obviously for the hero ship, running with the same theme, we'd want it to be one of those characters' ships probably, so Anakin's Jedi Starfighter. We've seen Yoda's Starfighter is far more obscure than Anakin's. The only appearance it's made is in the Clone Wars, so I don't see any issue with having that as the ship in that. But yeah, it would just be something really cool to see. I don't think there would be any particularly exclusive vehicles to this, really, because you wouldn't really have much room for land vehicles on Grievous's ship as a map. And as far as Starfighter Assault, all the Clone Wars ships, I think they've pretty much been done. You've got Y-Wings, A-Wings, I'm not sure if they're called A-Wings, I'm not entirely, but and you've got the kind of parodies of early versions of X-Wings almost. I'm not entirely sure what any of those are called. But yeah, so I'm not sure if there's much more they could do as far as ships. Perhaps they could give a new ability to the Vulture droids, as far as You might remember from the start of episode 3, they fire missiles that land buzz droids on the ship that actually rip apart the ship.
Yeah.
Slowly. So that maybe it could be they have a missile that they fire. If it hits, gradual damage. And it's got the animation of the buzz droids. But yeah, I think that's all we really have to say about that. What would you rather see, this or Geonosis?
It's difficult, because I think I would prefer the Geonosis map. And I obviously want Padme in there. That's one of the people I've been rooting for. But I also really want Anakin.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'm not sure, to be honest.
Personally, for me, I think this.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think Geonosis would be... I think Galactic Assault-wise, Geonosis would be better.
Yeah.
Starfighter Assault-wise, I think it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Because they equally could have a lot of what I quite enjoy about some of the Galactic Assault maps, Starfighter Assault maps, sorry, is the kind of dodging debris and stuff. And with Coruscant, it would be quite a chaotic map with a lot of stuff going on. And with Geonosis, you'd have the asteroid field. But I think Anakin, there's not a hero I think I want more than Anakin. So I think that would take it for me.
That's fair, yeah. That's fair.
And I'd certainly, out of Slave 1 or Anakin's Jedi Starfighter, I'm really not sure which one I'd rather, because I play some Starfighter Assault, but I wouldn't say
it's not your, main...
Yeah, I'm either playing Galactic Assault, Strike, or Heroes vs. Villains. So it's kind of tricky. I guess Anakin, because I prefer the character, but we've already got Yoda's Jedi Starfighter, we've already got a Slave 1.
Yeah.
So either one of them would be fine. So next up, I think something I quite like from Revenge of the Sith would be Utapau or Utapau. I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce it. We couldn't think of a Starfighter Assault map for this, because I'm sure they could just figure out another Clone Wars Starfighter Assault map, but nothing came to mind.
Yeah.
There are plenty of big space battles in the Clone Wars TV series, so I'm sure they could chuck one of those in there. As I believe they have with the Twi'leks planet, I can't remember what it's called, but one of the Clone Wars map in the Starfighter Assault in the actual game at the moment is a planet that I don't believe was introduced properly until the Clone Wars. So there's no reason why they couldn't do that. There's plenty of subtle, but there is plenty of original Clone Wars content in there, so there's no reason why they couldn't do that. And the heroes would be Obi-Wan, and on the dark side...
we were thinking Grievous.
Yeah, General Grievous. That would, it's their iconic battle happens on Utapau or Utapau, so yeah, it makes sense. And on that one, there is actually, much like Geonosis, quite a significant battle between the clones and the droids. I actually believe that is one of the final battles of the Clone Wars, because I seem to remember Order 66 happens while that fight is still happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be really cool to see. I think Grievous and Obi-Wan, there's been a lot of rumours around, a lot of possible leaks, but we're not really sure what is legit.
Nothing's been,
yeah, because they found a 3D model of Grievous in the game, allegedly, but that could be fake. I think after all the rumours, it's likely it's coming.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there's been so much sort of alleged stuff that people have dug up or heard or found. I think it's quite likely something's gonna come out.
Obi-Wan, once again, like we said, there's not much more that could be done with the Jedi.
Yeah.
But maybe what would be interesting if they gave him Rey's mind trick ability, because those are he's kind of the character that has been iconic for using that. So yeah, that could be something quite cool. Grievous, 4 lightsabers. They'd have to find a way to not make that overpowered.
I imagine they do it in a similar way that where Darth Maul is. I don't imagine he'd be hitting you because with Darth Maul, he's obviously got 2 sides.
Yeah.
I imagine they'd kind of do it in a similar way to
just
how
alternating
they
between each arm. Yeah.
How they deal
I
with
wouldn't
that.
be surprised if he'd be quite a lot of a slower character. Because he's quite large, more of a tank kind of. I heard a rumour of one of his abilities would be a lightsaber shield, so he would just spin them like helicopter blades, and lasers would just bounce off. That would be amazing. Personally for me, I think that would be really cool. But it begs the question, would that mean he doesn't have block normally, if you had that?
Yeah, because I imagine, again, like Darth Maul, he'd be quite a powerful character.
Yeah.
They'd have to find some way to make it a bit more of a fair playing ground for everyone.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I don't know how they'd handle it, but I'm thinking similar to Darth Maul somehow.
Yeah. Next up, from I watch Rebels, you don't.
Yeah, this isn't really mine.
Yeah. But the main planet that the first 2 series I think are on mainly is Lothal.
Mhm.
There are like the stormtroopers are on there. It's occupied. Plenty of battles happen. They're not large scale battles because it is the early days of the rebellion. But there's no reason why that couldn't happen. For the heroes, I don't think you know any of these characters, so I'll just go ahead and...
Yeah, I know them sort of, but not enough to talk about them.
So for the heroes on the light side, I'd like to see either Ezra or Kanan. I wouldn't like to see any of the other members, specifically because of who I'd like as the dark side hero, which would be the Grand Inquisitor. If they're going to do the Grand Inquisitor as the dark side character, and I think this is the only map that would really make sense for them, if it was Rebels related, because he was like the Season 1 villain, and that was the planet they were on mainly. I think you'd have to have another lightsaber character. I think it'd just be really interesting, much like Grievous, and obviously what they did with Darth Maul, having a different type of lightsaber user. Like it's got like kind of the helicopter blade action where it spins, and he's got a lightsaber throw, which would be really interesting. And yeah, I'm not sure who I'd want over Ezra or Kanan. Obviously, this would probably be like Season 1 or Season 2 Ezra. So something that they could do, which I think would be really interesting. Ezra's first lightsaber doubles as a gun. Yeah. So that could be something really interesting to see. If maybe he can switch stances. Cool. So he can't use them simultaneously, but he, much like... there's a character that I'm trying to think of. I can't entirely remember. But, yeah, he could, like, switch stances, so go from using it as a gun to a lightsaber. So that could be something that would be really interesting. Yeah. And then, as the hero ship, I'm just going to say I did think of another idea for Rebels, and I couldn't think of another ship. So obviously the only ship I could think of for Rebels as a hero ship would be the Ghost. That's the main ship they use. And honestly, I just can't really think of an alternative. Maybe the Phantom, but that's more of a... which is actually their, like, attachment ship, which can, like, fly separately. But that's more of a small ship just to get them around a bit. So I don't think that would make sense. I couldn't really think of any other ship. But yeah, I think that's not something either of us are massively, like, nowhere near as much wanting as the others. I don't think, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this isn't really...
Like,
I don't watch the show,
like Rebels, but I would much rather see Anakin or Dooku or Obi-Wan or Grievous or Padme or Mace Windu or Jango Fett. But yeah, it would be perfectly enjoyable. I'd quite enjoy it just because, you know, I like these characters. But it's not something that I'm like, yes, we need that.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, keeping up with Rebels. So I just finished Season 3 of Rebels. And the planet they basically had their base on the entire season was Atalan. Or Atalon, I'm not entirely sure. And for that season, the villain was Thrawn. So I thought he could be the dark side hero. And then either Captain Syndulla or Garazeb Aurelius, or Zeb as they call him. Yeah, obviously we're thinking of all of these seasons with the idea that they're not gonna like contradict each other. So like, yeah, we don't want them to contradict each other. I just rather like imagine all of these are gonna happen. So equally, I could put Ezra or Kanan there, but I'm thinking of all of these as if they are all going to happen simultaneously, so I'm trying not to overlap anything, other than obviously, like I said, the hero ship would be the Ghost. But yeah, space battles happen there, like there's battle of stormtroopers and everything. So yeah, like, that's another thing. What would you have to say about it, with little knowledge on Rebels?
I guess it would be cool, but limited knowledge.
I feel like this is... much. Yeah, sorry, these past two have been a bit heavy on me talking, having been the only one in the room that has actually... watched it. So we might as well just move on to the next one, which you do actually have some knowledge on. So I'm just gonna let you read this whole thing out.
Obviously from Rogue One, we were thinking Scarif.
Yeah.
For both maps. And obviously I think the hero would obviously be
Jin and Director Krennic. Yeah, that'd be something interesting to see. Obviously we did see it in the last game. I can't say I massively enjoyed it, but it would just be good to have it in the game, to have something from each film. Like, I imagine they'd have to do the abilities reasonably similar. like you couldn't do much
Yeah,
kind of new
I feel
stuff.
like for a lot of these characters, they work similarly to somebody else. There's not, for a lot of them, you can draw a comparison.
And with them already
else.
in the last game, like you might as well just keep the same stuff. For the hero ship, I thought they could use Cassian Andor's U-wing. I think the main reason I'd really like this is, as far as I'm aware, I haven't actually got to play as it, but as far as I'm aware, the U-wing in the game at the moment is purely used like as you're firing from it, just like the last game. So something that will be really interesting about this is obviously it could be a hero ship because it's a main character from the film, but also being able to fly as a U-wing, which is something we didn't get in the last game. But yeah, obviously this was all stuff that we saw in the last game. But yeah, that's pretty much kind of everything we thought of. But there were a few characters that we both wanted to see, that we couldn't really think for Season 4, really.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of Star Wars stuff, and like I said, I'm sure they figure it out, but us personally, thinking off the top of our heads, there's so many characters we'd love to see that just couldn't really happen. I think the first two we properly thought of were Clone Wars, like, exclusive characters, Ahsoka and Asajj Ventress.
Yeah.
And I know Ventress does have some sort of ship, can't remember it particularly, but like I said, the game's got a significant lack of female characters, but also people want more lightsaber characters, so that'd be something really interesting to see. I think it would be good to see them both in the same season.
Yeah, I agree.
And obviously that would be Clone Wars themed, so you want the Clone Wars era Ahsoka, so like young with the green lightsabers. Whether it was dual lightsabers or a singular lightsaber, what do you think you'd rather see? Because bearing in mind Ventress also has dual lightsabers.
I think it would be cool if they had dual lightsabers.
Both of them, yeah.
Both of them. It would be another case of how they're going to make sure that they're not a little bit overpowered, but you know, I'm sure they'll figure that out. But yeah, I think dual would be what I would rather see personally.
Yeah. Then regarding like obviously with The Last Jedi, there was one character that is a prominent character in the franchise that we didn't get, and I think we had trouble thinking of it because we couldn't really think of who would be a good other First Order like villain, but we thought Poe Dameron would be quite a good hero, but we just weren't really sure who could counter him, like what map you'd get, because I think we both briefly thought Snoke, but I think you pointed out that we don't really know much about him. He's not like a very much of an action hero.
Yeah.
So yeah, like what would you like to see Snoke, or?
I think it would be interesting. I think they could play around with him quite a bit because we don't know that much about him. So that could either be bad for them or it could give them more opportunity to... Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to spoil anything regarding The Last Jedi, but we certainly see some extent of what his powers are.
Yeah.
So yeah, that could be something interesting. But yeah, I think it will be kind of good because they've got a lot of room to move. Like we know kind of what roughly his base abilities are.
Yeah.
But
so I think they've got a lot of like room for the imagination sort of thing.
Yeah. Now I think two heroes I'd really like to see, being a fan of the Clone Wars TV series, would be Captain Rex, who is a clone trooper commander who is very actually close with Anakin Skywalker, and Savage Opress, who is Darth Maul's brother.
Yeah.
Obviously, both characters have reasonable connections to characters that are already in the game. As far as Rex's actual battalion, his troop unit, we know the skins for that unit are going to be in the game from like leaked footage of clone skins.
Yeah.
And Savage, obviously, Maul's already in the game, so that'd be really cool to see. Personally, for me, I think Savage would be good. He's a much bigger character than Darth Maul. He seems to rely more. He seems to be like more of a brute strength character.
Yeah.
Whereas Darth Maul is very nimble. So, would you say Savage would be good to see as more of a heavy character, much like I said with Grievous? So that'd be quite cool to see more of a brutal character.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, what sort of stuff would you like to see from those two?
I imagine Savage Opress would be a heavy character, slower. You know.
Yeah.
I can't really say much about Rex. I don't really, as we've already discussed, I don't really watch the shows.
Yeah, in Clone Wars he's got dual pistols, which I think that's like his iconic thing. That would be really interesting to see.
Yeah.
There's nothing really like that in the game at the moment. So seeing someone operate with dual pistols, that would be something really interesting to see. But beyond that, I don't know. It's just you'd have to make kind of like a buffed clone, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be perfectly easy to do because they've already got the actor voicing Boba Fett and the clones, so you could just get Rex is a clone himself. So yeah. Moving on, if you want to read out the next two, that you thought maybe they could bring some more characters from the story.
Yeah. We were thinking Del, which is obviously Iden's husband, and her daughter, which is introduced more in
the Resurrection.
Because obviously you only really play as Iden, and that's she's who you follow in the story. But I think it would be cool, especially as the story continues with each new season.
Yeah.
That you get some more characters from that. And presumably they'd be the same price as Iden, which is great because then people aren't spending. But yeah, so I think that would be cool as the story progresses if you got a little bit more out of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think out of everyone we've listed, they would probably be the ones that people wouldn't want as much.
Yeah, but I wouldn't
it'd still be interesting to see. Like if we keep getting more and more stuff, that would certainly be interesting to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's certainly less likely, as it's unlikely we actually get to play as those characters at any point. What was good about Aizen was they could just take her and put her into the
game. Yeah.
But yeah.
Story. Sorry.
And last but not least, I thought would be quite cool to see Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know where to put him with map or a counter like hero, because obviously he faces off against Darth Maul on Naboo. We already have Naboo. We've already got Darth Maul. I think the main thing that I was excited about thinking about Darth Maul was in the Clone Wars TV show, he briefly appeared, and they actually got Liam Neeson to come back and voice him. So the main thing that got me excited about thinking of having Qui-Gon was I would not be surprised if they could get Liam Neeson to come back and voice him, and that would just be something I really enjoyed. I mean, they did it with Daisy Ridley and John Boyega for their characters. So yeah, it'd just be something interesting to see. But overall thoughts, what would you say is your personal, like, what you want the most out of all of the ones we've listed?
I think it would definitely be between our Geonosis and Grievous' ship.
Yeah.
Because the characters, and I quite think Geonosis would be really cool, but the characters more than anything are the ones, they're the ones that I'd really want.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed. What about you? What do you think?
I think it'd have to go to probably Grievous' ship.
Yeah.
I think Anakin is one of my favourite characters, especially in Episode 3, is one of my favourite characters in the Star Wars series.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a very generic Star Wars fan as far as I like the cool guy with the lightsaber. I like Luke in Episode 6, I like Anakin, and I like Kylo Ren. I probably like Kylo Ren more than Rey. Maybe it's just that family and the guys in it who have lightsabers. But yeah, like I really like Anakin as a character. I am one of the few people who actually enjoy really all of the Star Wars properties. And personally, I think for you, Episode 3 is probably your favourite Star Wars film.
Potentially.
You've gone back and forth.
I think the story in it is really good. It's sometimes difficult to look past but if you can look past the CGI, I think the story actually. Yeah,
the story's decent. There's some cringy dialogue.
Yeah,
but
the actors, I value it because the actors do well with what they've been given.
Yeah, people really have a go at people like Hayden Christensen, and like he's not a bad actor. He did the best with what he got, but it's not his fault that George Lucas wrote how much Anakin hates sand. Like, he really can't be blamed for that.
But I think if you can look past the bit of cringy sort of dialogue and that the CGI isn't great and that sometimes the tone changes happen quickly, the basis of that film, which is watching Anakin turn into Darth Vader, is a good plot line.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
just maybe don't execute it as well as they could have, but that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, maybe another video.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that's personally for me. I think yeah, like I said, Grievous' ship would be my favorite. I adore Anakin as a character. Count Dooku would be quite cool to see. But really, like, yeah, Dooku isn't the main part. He'd be cool to see, but I just really want to see Anakin. Yeah, I love that lightsaber. And honestly, something that I think would be really fun is the fact that two characters have the same lightsaber, Rey and Anakin. I love that whole thing with the lightsaber. That the fact that the lightsaber Rey has was the same lightsaber that Anakin used to slaughter children.
Yeah,
It's just a weird bit of a yeah. When you look at the universe as an overall, it is a really strange thing to think about. But yeah, anyway, I think we'll probably leave it at that. This has gone on quite long, but yeah, we'll keep trying to make videos about. Well, I think we're doing a bit more Star Wars videos recently.
There's a lot going on at the moment about Star Wars, what with Battlefront 2 and The Last Jedi having only just come out a few days ago.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on, and we've got a lot of thoughts about lots of different Star Wars themed.
Yeah, so there might be.
So
it might seem like we're focusing on Star Wars a bit more.
We're not a Star Wars channel yet.
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 But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and leave your comments below what you'd like to see.
Or if you've got any ideas of the people that we couldn't come up with for
yeah, by all means, maps and Starfighter Assault, let us know what we've missed out. I'm sure there are people who know far more than us about Star Wars.
I'm not the most knowledgeable.
Yeah, and even like I know more than you, but I see some people that are insane. They're like a walking encyclopedia of stuff that's canon and not canon. It's ridiculous. So I'm sure someone will know more than us.
Someone will have some good ideas, I'm sure.
Yeah, but anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, bye.
Bye.